Welcome to another edition of BestowCast. Today we spoil Doctor Strange. This week we're going to talk about Doctor Strange 3.
Yep.
We drove right into the future and we saw Doctor Strange 3. We're coming back. We're going to spoil it for everybody.
Yep.
Nice talking with you. It's gonna be a fun one because what is it, like 4 weeks ago was when we actually saw it. So now it's like, oh, let's just wait a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. You know, it's like, do you remember what happened? I don't know. Like I remember, was it America Chavez and another Doctor Strange are going for the Book of Vashante, and then he decides that that to solve that he's gonna suck the life force out of her. She jumps. She gets in her DeLorean. She time jumps, and she ends up in this area. She puts mushrooms in her coffee, and just like she's drinking mushroom coffee, and then Knuckles shows up, and saves her and brings her to Earth, and then they try to fight Sonic, and she double crosses him. And they end up in a farm owned by her deceased grandfather, but she didn't know that he was a Ghostbuster.
Yep.
There, we summarized that in 2 minutes, and now we have another.
That's it. Bye.
Doctor Strange wakes up, leaving his vision to be a nightmare. So yeah, that was the whole.
Is that where yours starts?
That's where it has the whole paragraph about America Chavez and the.
Okay, I was gonna say mine starts like exactly where.
Yeah, that's right. He wakes up because he thinks it's all a nightmare or whatever. It's a dream. Because you learn later on that all that stuff is connected.
Yeah.
What was it? I like that. Wong is Sorcerer Supreme, by the way. I mean, if you watch Spider-Man, you would have known that Wong was Sorcerer Supreme. But I actually after thinking about it, like once you're Sorcerer Supreme, that's kind of like that's it.
Yeah.
So it's almost better that Doctor Strange isn't Sorcerer Supreme, so he can actually have the Avengers and everything else.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Wong has to sit there on the committee meetings and just like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the thing I was thinking about throughout the whole movie. It was like, oh, well, this is why he's not Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, Wong gets he gets to shine too. He gets his.
We love
moment.
Wong.
Mm-hmm. She ends up on Earth 616. Earth 616 gets numbered, by the way. I mean, I'm all over the board. I'm not talking in sequence or whatever. I'm just gonna jump wherever I like. Hey, this was fun.
Here's a question.
Because you know what? Watch the movie. If you want it in sequence, watch the movie. If you want two jackasses talking about it, just.
Here's a question. No.
What? You got to do the voice now, though.
I can't do it.
You got to do the voice. You got to do that. Everybody's waiting for the voice.
Hey.
Stan Lee sounds like Mickey Mouse. Welcome to the Mickey Mouse Club! Hey, Goofy! He finds her, or she finds him. They find out it's all dreams.
She's being chased by the monster that has the runes on it.
Right.
And they talk about it.
They're
and then
being chased also by that tentacle monster, which I think is
with
supposed to be like the ultimate being in all universes, and then they just it's like, oh, he's supposed to be like the ultimate death in like all universes. Well, I think he's like supposed to be like her. So she's supposed to be this, a singularity or whatever. She's the only instance of her in every universe. So it's only her. And I think like that octopus thingamabobber, I forget what his name is supposed to be, I think it's also supposed to be a singularity. I think it's from like the Negative Zone or the Cancerverse or something, but yeah. Anyway, she's being chased by the rune monster. He's like, yummy macaroons. I'm the macaroon monster. Nom, 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 nom. Right, apparently he doesn't do that.
But that's my favorite part.
What, the macaroon monster?
Yeah.
The rune monster. Which is the rune monster?
The...
Come on, I'm trying to get on the same page as you.
Okay, so the monster from the nightmare, I'm pretty sure it had like runes on it, which is what led him, Doctor Strange, to go see Wanda.
Sure, we'll go with that. The body. Doctor Strange's body comes with her. And the body has runes, which is also on the tentacle monster.
Got it.
And the rune monster, the
one was on the one in the nightmare.
I think the one in Nightmare also had runes. I think they're all like monsters, but they all had runes on them.
Got it.
And so he goes to Wanda to try to. I'm not cheating. I'm trying to recall as much as I can from my memory, but I think not only to help decipher that, but to just aid in general.
Yeah, he wants to keep her, like, safe.
Mm-hmm. Which then, if you watched WandaVision, you'd be like, oh, I've got the inside view. Did you watch WandaVision? You never finished WandaVision, because I was kind of curious. I know, like, my brother didn't watch WandaVision at all, and he's like, it was fine. He's like, I understood what was going on. There's enough clues in that movie to understand what was going on.
Like, I understood what was going on, even though I never finished it.
A lot of complaints that I heard about that was that they believe that by the end of WandaVision, she kind of learned her errors, and she rights herself, she corrects herself. But not necessarily, like, she kind of... So the point of WandaVision is she's dealing with grief over the death of Vision, and the fact that she had to kill Vision to protect the universe from Thanos, and it didn't matter. Thanos reversed it and then killed Vision a second time and took the stone. And so she was dealing with grief with the loss of a loved one and having to do that and everything else. But the course of WandaVision is that she creates children, which are alternate universes. This is actually like comic book material too. So this is not something that they just threw up for there's actually source material for this. And by the end of the whole thing of WandaVision, she was being manipulated by another magic user who was kind of trying to siphon she was trying to siphon power off of her, and I think she herself was trying to become the Scarlet Witch, and that's how Wanda gets control of the Darkhold. That's the very brief, like I was trying to be super brief about WandaVision. But by the end of Wanda, like I think there was a post-credit scene in WandaVision. Is you can see her, she's like sitting out on the porch of a log cabin, and she's just like sipping tea or whatever. And when you go into the building, it's kind of like from the first Doctor Strange when he's sleeping and he's in the astral plane and he's like reading the books. When you go inside the building, she's in the astral plane and she's reading from the Darkhold, and you can hear the children crying out. So she's searching for her children. And on top of that, the Darkhold corrupts. So it wasn't really like WandaVision. She kind of came to Oz, or she kind of what's kind of the word, like she accepted the death of Vision, but then there's still this whole element of like that she had children that she was attached to and everything else, and then she's being corrupted by the Darkhold on top of it. So she wasn't exactly 100% pure or cured from the end of WandaVision, which is the thing that everybody was kind of kicking up in this one. But when Doctor Strange gets there, because he doesn't. I don't think he tells her what was. There was a point that he figured out that she was corrupt. Because
they were talking about her, and Wanda said America Chavez's name.
I didn't know if it was that he didn't say her name, or he didn't say where she was kept. I didn't remember which one it was. He didn't say her name, and she's like, oh, we should say her, we protect her. So it's kind of interesting. Is like I stayed away from the trailers to stay away from spoilers, but the few trailers that you do see, even the one that's at the end of Spider-Man, they're not presenting her as a villain. Like, you don't even think of her as being a villain. She's pretty much a villain. And me reading the comic book is like, think Wanda's the villain, because Wanda's not a good guy. Wanda causes the House of M and kills like all the mutants. She's not a good guy. We'll be right back after this break. See you soon! Hey, Goofy!
I enjoyed writing all of them, but obviously the one that's been the most successful has been Spider-Man, and Thor has been great, and now Iron Man is coming right up there, and it's really amazing to see how on the screen they're all becoming so big, like the Avengers.
You can catch the rest of this interview on youtube.com/BestowTV.
We're back!
So Wanda being evil. What do you have to say about Wanda being evil?
I liked it.
You liked her being evil?
I never thought that she should have been, like, on the good side. Because
Well, I mean...
she just seems like she would be a good bad guy.
What about a bad good guy?
A bad good guy.
Like in the book, she was always dealing with grief and all that other stuff too. Like the whole lead up to spoilers for House of M, just spoilers for anything in Marvel in general. But like leading up to House of M was that. Well, here's a phrase that we're going to come up on having to deal with Doctor Strange 2. The Illuminati find that she is not stable and decide that they're going to have to do something about it. I think they were going to wipe her memory or do something. They're going to have Professor X wipe her memory. And in doing so, like she's dealing with the grief of the loss of her children in that series as well. They're lost in the multiverse. And so him trying to do that and her figuring it out is what causes her to snap. And that's where she creates House of M. Mm-hmm. And House of M is where her father, now this is where like the movie universe and the comic book universe divide a little bit, because in the comic books, her father is Magneto. And so in House of M, she makes a world where Magneto pretty much rules. And she made like, I think like pretty much everybody had like the perfect life. Like Captain America's like old and gray, but he had the perfect life. And everybody has no memories of like the other universe or the other world, except for Wolverine because of his healing factor. And he's the one that has to kind of like snap them out of it. And then the recourse of that, again, it's like, I think it comes down to is like, you're powerful enough to like change an entire universe. Like you can alter reality like this. I mean, I think she's classified as an Omega level, like mutant, which Omega level is like, sorry. Where's the top of my screen? Right? I mean, there's only a handful. I think like Jean Grey is like an Omega level mutant. Jean Grey is like Omega level, and then she gets like the Phoenix Force, and then she's definitely past the screen. So it's like when you because her mutant ability is to change, to be able to change the universe, create alternate realities. But then she's magical as well. She's a spellcaster, so it really makes her a big threat. Mm-hmm. And when they decide they're going to attempt to take her out again, I'm faulty memory. See, I'm trying to remember a damn movie from 3 weeks ago, and it was like 10 years ago when I read House of M. But that's where the popular "No More Mutants" comes along, where she whispers, she's like, "No more mutants," and she takes the entire mutant population to 199. It was that like the mutant population was probably in the millions or thousands or whatever, and it goes to like 199. Mm-hmm. And some of them end up like depowered, like Professor X ends up depowered. But then there's characters like Chamber, who has a supernova in place of his jaw and chest, and with him not being a mutant and that gone, well, he ain't living. He just uprights and dies. So she ends up like killing mutants, and some of them become depowered and everything. So it's kind of a thing that they were trying to bring around in this. It's a shame we'll probably never get a like House of M kind of storyline with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but this is probably as close as we're gonna get. So she goes nuts and go. Taj Mahal.
She has to cover Taj, and she kills a lot of the sorcerers. She kills a lot and destroys like the entire place. She like started using the reflections to try and get at.
She's like pulling people through the puddles.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, which was very cool actually.
She distorts herself and then crawls through a gong, through the reflection of the gong. And then the whole thing with America Chavez is when she's stressed and frightened, that's when the portals, she has no control over the portals, or hasn't found a way to control the portals, and that's when they end up going through the multiverse. They may have even gone through the, the Spider-Verse? They go through like an animated sequence, and it's like, oh, could that be them going through the Spider-Verse from the Sony thing, or is that could be an X-Men thing, or it could be any of like the animated properties. They go through like a paint universe. You don't want to stop there.
They talk about it later. Yeah.
You're gonna throw up. Oh, I'm not gonna throw up. And he ends up throwing up. And then they end up in a universe. They end up in another universe that's not their universe. It is numbered.
Yeah.
This is one thing that they actually did in this movie. Is they actually provided the numbers, and it was like a thing upon 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 a thing. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. We haven't gotten there yet, but I guess we can cover a lot of bases and just say that they end up at the Sorcerer Supreme's house, and it ends up being Baron Mordo. And then he finds out that the Doctor Strange of that universe is dead, and Baron Mordo was put in charge by Strange, I believe, or seemed that way, or something like that. Something like that. He was the failsafe or whatever. And then he knocks them out, and they wake up, and they're in the prison. So this is where the little bit, because the first thing is you get is what's her name? His girlfriend, Christine. Yeah, the first thing is they end up with Christine, and Christine's like, oh, well, they have me here employed here at the Baxter Building, and I'm like, Baxter Building. The next thing is like, well, she's like, oh, you're in universe. It was like 8 something. I don't remember. Does it say? You're in universe 838, or you're in universe 838, but you're from universe 616. And I'm like, 616. That's the baseline. Although the nerd picking this apart of all of us is that 616 is like the normal Marvel comic continuity line. And the theory for the longest time up until this movie was that the movie would have its own designation because it's not an alternate telling of the same, like the timeline skew. So this is probably like 616C or something like that. Like we were debating that, where it's like, well, maybe this is just a little offshoot. It's like it's close enough to be 616, but 616 is like the comic line, and they're taking too many liberties. Baron Mordo brings him in front of the Illuminati, and then that's another E moment, and then they bring him up to the Illuminati, and then it was like his the whole time, because like they just introduce each one, and it's just like, do they have all the? Yeah, they do have the Illuminati here. So the first one they show is Captain Carter, and it's like, oh yeah, Captain Carter, that makes sense with What If. The next one is okay, I guess that must be his comic book name. It's Black Bolt. What did yours say? Mine.
It's the same thing.
Blackguard Boltagon. I guess that must be his actual real name. What a weird name. Black Bolt from the Inhumans.
Yeah.
And I was like, because it's not only is it Black Bolt. Well, Black Bolt was one of the Illuminati in the comic books, but it's Black Bolt from the Inhumans. Like they tried to make an Inhumans TV series that failed. It didn't do very good. It's the same actor, so it's that Black Bolt from that series. And then it was Maria Rambeau. So I just assumed that she became Captain Marvel instead of Captain Marvel. What was Captain Marvel's name? Carol Danvers. So she's displaying the powers instead, which that also ties back to WandaVision, because Maria. I think I keep wanting to say Monica. She might have been. I don't know if she was a Monica in the comics, but her daughter becomes Fozon in that show about Wanda and Vision called the Wanda something or other.
The Wanda something.
WandaVision show.
WandaVision.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, she gets the power instead. Then it was the Reed Richards, which I'm like, I should have known they were talking about the Baxter Building. And then when they showed it was what's his face from The Office. I don't watch The Office, but I know who he is from all the memes and everything else, and the times I watched The Office. But when he came on the screen, I'm like, oh shit, they did announce this because they were talking about Marvel doing a Fantastic Four movie, and they had already announced him as playing Reed Richards, and I had completely forgotten about it. And when they showed him, it was like, oh, and he looks awesome as Reed Richards. It's like, oh, hopefully he stays on board and we get to see him as Fantastic Four, the leader of the Fantastic Four. And then the final moment was, and this was kind of ruined by spoiler culture, but I didn't see it in the trailer. Supposedly it was in the trailer, but I skipped all the trailers, was Professor X coming out in the Professor X wagon with the X-Men 97 theme song underscored underneath him. So it's Patrick Stewart. So it's Patrick Stewart's Professor X, because I heard everybody saying Patrick Stewart playing Professor X, and it's like, oh, well, of course, Disney acquired Fox, so they're going to bring him over as the part of the Fox Mutantverse. And when they played the X-Men theme, it's like, oh, no, this isn't the Charles Xavier from that universe. This is the Charles Xavier version from the animated series. And then another light kicked on where it's like, oh yeah, they just announced that Disney Plus is doing a continuation of the '97 X-Men cartoon, and it's supposed to be in continuity to all this stuff, and it's like,
They explained that their Doctor Strange, first of all, caused an incursion, so he, collided some realities together, and they were the ones that killed him.
Which is something you see later on. Mm-hmm. And I have a theory about the incursion, because they're on Titan when that happens, and you see the dead Thanos on the side, and I'm wondering, Thanos. You see the dead Thanos on the side, and I'm wondering if, because what was it, in the Avengers, it's like there's only one reality where they all win. Mm-hmm. This is probably a reality where they still don't win, but it caused him to cause the incursion in order to defeat Thanos. So that was what I assume that's what we're supposed to summarize. That's what I summarized. I don't know if that's what you summarized, or you're just like,
I just watched it.
You're just like Doctor Strange. Now there's two Doctor Stranges.
Though he was dead in that universe.
Well, it was a flashback. You saw him in a flashback. You saw you saw Black Bolt get to use his power.
Mm-hmm. Wanda decides to show up, and she wrecks some stuff. She kind of kills like everyone.
I'm like, I'm glad this is an alternate reality, because it's like I'm all ready to see all these characters, and then it's like, like none of them make it. Even the one, I guess I don't know if it's the last E moment, but the last E moment was like Mr. Fantastic talking about he's got a wife and kids, so it's a reference to Miss Fantastic and Child Fantastic. God, it's all slipping for me. It's Valerie and Franklin Richards, they're the two children, and Susan Storm. So it's a reference to the other ones.
Swaggy.
Mm-hmm.
So she kills everyone in the Illuminati except for Mordo. which then Doctor Strange has a pretty good fight with before trapping him in a tiny little pit and then escaping with Chavez and Christine from that universe. The scientist Christine.
Scientist Christine.
Scientist
Baxter Christine.
Baxter Christine.
And that's where they get to the dimension between dimensions or wherever, because they want to get to the Book of Ashante because it's supposed to give him, it gives them the tools, that tool that they need for whatever tool that they need for that time. And they get to the book, and the book does nothing, and then it gets obliterated.
Yeah.
It does nothing for them. And Wanda ends up escaping with America Chavez. So she takes her back and traps them into whatever, Earth 8 something. 838. 838. So she traps them in 838. So you get these. She's trying to sacrifice America in their timeline, because the whole idea is that Wanda wants to take America's powers away from her, because that will allow her to time walk into a dimension where her children are, and she can be with her children. Which when I'm like processing that, and it's like, this is like, even if like her intentions are kind of on the evil side. She's trying to be good, but it's like it's never going to work out for her. She's never going to like she has to separate a family in order to have the kids, and she's just going to end up like kidnapping a bunch of kids. So that's what she's trying to use America Chavez for. And then in the meantime, now how do they end up? They end up in another dimension, because they end up in a dimension where an incursion happened.
Yeah. So
Did America jump, and they ended up in a different? I don't remember how they ended up in the.
Wanda, she takes over Chavez's mind and uses her to send them to the incursion.
That's
world.
how that happens.
Yeah.
She basically banishes them. And then she's like, I like how like she sleepwalks or whatever. What do they call that? Time walk or whatever. She ends up in the Wanda of that timeline. And then it's funny, it's like she returns back to her normal timeline, and then that Wanda is like in the middle of like nowhere.
Yeah.
And then she uses the power, so she still has her powers in that timeline, because she uses her powers to
escape the
the portal. So yeah, they end up in the thing that I'm wondering, like the timeline with the incursion. I wonder if that's the incursion maybe that they're referencing that Doctor Strange did in the first place, and they end up finding another Doctor Strange in there, the third eye Doctor Strange, who utilizes the Darkhold. And he's like, you're not gonna like what the Darkhold's gonna give to you. And the third eye pops open and everything. And a pretty awesome musical fight where they use music. And I was watching a few reviews, and I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of dumb and everything. And it's like, well, the whole thing with spellcasting is it's all words. Like spells are words, and music is still like a form of.
Yeah.
So and that Doctor Strange had a tuba sitting there, he had a piano, like he had all these musical instruments around him. So it was kind of neat to see them utilize music. And it was a very like kind of Fantasia kind of thing too. So it's a very Disney kind of thing where they're using music from the public domain to fight each other. They're using Mozart and everything to fight each other, just so that he could do his thing. Sorry, I took a drink in the middle of my sentence.
Yeah, so he defeats him. Our Doctor Strange defeats the Darkhold Doctor Strange, and then uses that Darkhold to dreamwalk into the corpse. So we get Zombie Strange.
And we get a total Evil Dead. The whip pans and everything. And I love how like he ends up like he so I guess we kind of like glossed over the fact that the Darkhold gets destroyed and she ends up in Wanda ends up in this temple. Well, like Wong takes her to this temple of where the Darkhold's kind of etched into the walls because the book is actually written from the etchings of the walls. So like Strange gets there and he's unable to get there in time because he doesn't have a cape. So he like creates a cape of like the undead, which is pretty kick-ass. I mean, I'm still kind of glossing over the fact that he's using spells that are not natural, and that there's a price to pay, and they're trying to drag him off to hell. So you kind of get the duality where where his physical body is, they're fighting, and then Christine is actually like using different artifacts that are around in there to help him fight them off, and it's like, you must save them. But he creates a cape of the undead, and he goes to save them. And I guess like the Strange from the beginning was like, oh, the only was like the solution. So like I kind of glossed over the fact where he tries to kill Chavez, and it's kind of like that was like he felt that was the only solution, that she was dead. But when he goes to fight her, or when he arrives to save her, he realizes that she's there because she needs to be there. Like the reason why that there's no running away from it. She's supposed to be there, so this is why she's supposed to do what she's supposed to do, and she's there for the reason that she's there. And the Book of Vishanti and all that's never going to help her. And I think either her or through Wanda, they open up the wall back to that dimension. And the very thing that I was saying earlier is like, she's like, oh, these are my kids. And like, she's smacking the other version of her around, and the kids are horrified of her. And she's like coming to realization that this is wrong.
Yeah.
And she pretty much decides that, she's in the wrong. She destroys the thing of the Darkhold, the temple Darkhold. Supposedly she dies too.
Yeah, so she destroys the Darkhold in like every...
Yes, yeah, because if she destroyed the temple, she destroyed the Darkhold in every dimension.
Yeah.
But it's unknown whether you assume that she dies, but generally the rule of thumb is if there's no body, there's no death. Yeah. So you just see her light go, just the expanding of the red spell or whatever, and assuming that was her death. And yeah, that basically like Strange teaches her that Chavez teaches Chavez that she's in control of her own destiny. She's able to control her walking. You see her back in the temple. They're teaching her to be a spellcaster. And then we almost get to the ending, and then all of a sudden,
well, like I knew that something had to happen because obviously, it was said already. You don't use the Darkhold without some kind of repercussion. Like something's gonna happen. It's not gonna be good. Like you're not gonna like it. But I was like, damn. I mean, he was pretty before, but like, now he's got an extra eyeball.
No, you gotta get used to the third eye.
Get used to the third eye.
I thought it was strange. Because it's not really a curse, like that doesn't really seem to be a curse thing. And in the comics, he kind of has the third eye. The third eye always seems to be like on an astral plane. It always appears like above his forehead, not as a part of him. So I just assume that this is kind of the justification of it. You're not going to show it as an astral plane. It probably looks too corny, so they probably put it as a part of his head. That might not actually be a punishment from the Darkhold. It could be the gift from the Book of Vishanti. Because it's supposed to give him the tools of when he needs it. However, when they went to the Book of Vishanti, they didn't need it.
Yeah.
And who says that it gives him the tools for that moment? It may have given him a tool for something else, and that eye could be from the Book of Vishanti instead. The other thing was like they were saying about how it corrupts his soul, and I actually was watching a video of a current storyline, which is the death of Doctor Strange, and in the death of not the death of Doctor Strange. It was the Avengers Incursion storyline, where they found out like the Earths are starting to, all the Earths from the multiple dimensions are all starting to collide. And, they end up dying, and 616 is on a collision course. So they're trying to stop the incursion from happening. And Doctor Strange he goes to get the power that would be equal to God. And he can't get the power equal to God because his soul, he has corruption in his soul. And I'm like, oh, like if they use that storyline, because that storyline leads to Secret Wars. And I wouldn't be surprised if Secret Wars end up being another cinematic movie.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the curse where, like, if he tries to get ultimate power to stop the incursion and can't because his soul's corrupted.
Well, they say here that in the mid-credit scene, Strange is approached by a sorceress who warns him that his actions have triggered an incursion that he must help fix.
Yeah. So it probably is the setup
Yeah.
for the whole Secret Wars. I was like, Twitter's been all aflutter with, Secret Wars is going to be the next Avengers movie. And it's like, it took 10 years to set up Thanos in the Avengers movie. I wouldn't be surprised it would take 10 years to set up the new Secret Wars storyline, because you still have to get, I mean, you have to establish Reed Richards. You have to further establish the Illuminati. I mean, we got an alternate universe Illuminati, but there is a 616 Illuminati, and what they have to offer, because the Illuminati are trying to stop this from happening. So you got to kind of establish that. And the other big thing that you have to establish is you have to establish a Doctor Doom, and we do not have a Doctor Doom as of yet. So we have to get to Doctor Doom, and there's a lot of seeds going on where, like, they've already seeded the Young Avengers, they've already seeded like the Dark Avengers. So there's like so many different paths that they're going to go on, that there's so many things to build up before, we're not just going to get, boom, we're not going to get Secret Wars the next 3 years. I think like Secret Wars is going to be the next 10-year goal down the line. So in summary, you hated it.
Absolutely.
Worst Doctor Strange ever.
Nope, it was so bad. I wouldn't see it again. I hated every single part
Haven't
of it.
pestered your sister. It's like, come on, you haven't seen it. We need to take us.
Nope.
We
not
gotta
at
go see
all.
it a second time.
Not at all.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites. I liked it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go opposite of you. I know you're being sarcastic. We gotta put it out there. Hashtag. Wait, sorry. Footnote. Footnote. Sarcasm.
Yeah.
I think I like that better than the first Strange, Doctor Strange.
I liked the first Doctor Strange a lot, but this one was good.
It's kind of hard because it's like, my heart. I should like bring up a list of like the Marvel movies. Maybe
We should do a tier list.
Maybe, yeah, but it's like up in the top tier list. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, Doctor Strange is like really, like Doctor Strange 2 is like really super close to that, because it's like Guardians of the Galaxy and then Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and then it's like Doctor Strange, and then on top of that they played the trailer for Love and Thunder, and I'm like, holy shit. We've got the Asgardians of the Galaxy going on here. We got Thor and the Guardians together.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm gonna have this incursion of of Marvel movies. That's it. I think we went overtime. Any final thoughts?